Vanguard Live. I'm Damlola Ogunshaki, and here on Today in the News, we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories making waves across Nigeria. And of course, for the paper review this morning, I'm starting with Vanguard newspaper. And Vanguard is leading with PDP, fresh plot to oust ASUU on, allies plan counter moves. Weakest group in fresh plot to oust ASUU, NWC backs him. Why Atiku must preside over next session? That's coming from BOT member. Says ex-vice president playing politics with ASUU's remover. One item agenda on the cards. Stop fooling Rivers people, Wike tells PDP. Worried governorship aspirant to meet Wike. And also we have Atiku meet PDP reps members, appoint Anwagu media aide. APC mocks PDP chair. And you can see the story on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. And here we have a photo story showing Queen Elizabeth II, the Queen of England, here as she receives the new British Prime Minister, Liz Truss, at Balmoral Castle yesterday. Now, on page 8, we have Boko Haram banditry may end church in Nigeria if that's coming from PFN. On page 8, also we have ASUU strike. Federal government may make U-turn to no pay, make U-turn on no work, no pay policy. 30 arrested in Beko over a weekend's bloody rival court clash. 2023, same fake ticket, suicide mission for APC, says Arewa Christian Youths. On page 9, we have a DSTV GoTV tariff hike. Tribunal dismisses case against multi-choice. And on 2023, we have will display voters register soon. That's according to INEC. Now, stories above on page 12, we have 2023 trouble for Nigeria if power goes to naught. That's coming from Pandef. Nigeria must slip into economic stagflation. That's LCC as a one Nigerians. We also have a man that seeks tax holidays for manufacturers. On page 13, our gunmen invaded Labour Party's meeting in Enugu. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, we have oil theft. Navy destroyed a 30 billion naira illegal refinery asset. And you can see that on page 19. Now, away from Vanguard, we move to The Guardian. The Guardian this morning is leading with federal government to revisit no work, no pay as visas are pushed to end strike. Federal government announces a 23.5% salary rise for lecturers. VC's a committee push for 50% increase. Adamu, we have done our best to end strike. Buhari raises a committee to look into ASUU's demand. Akabuize, petrol subsidy funds can't be channeled to ASUU, increase workers' pay. Anglican Bishop to ASUU, federal government not ready for you, return to class. Let's declare 3-day strike, Labour leaders tells NLC and TUC. Kano moves to pull out of 7-month strike. Management can't force us to resume, Kaduna lecturers insist. And you can see this story on page 6. Now on page 14, we have Okote. Why federal government should adopt Aboriginal democracy instead of presidential system of government. On page 6, United Kingdom expectation eyes as Truss takes over. Now, stories above, we have pensioners vow to mobilize their voters against APC in 2023 elections. And lastly, on the front page of The Guardian, we have Nigerians 3 million IDPs won't be disenfranchised in 2023 poll, INEC assures. Now, away from that, we'll move to The Nation. The Nation is leading with ASUU. Government raises 14-man panel to resolve knotty issues. 23.5% pay rise for teachers likely. Return to classrooms, Bishop urged teachers, and you can see that on page 4. And here we have PDP campaign team. Atiku may shun Wike. Tambua Gwanyi Oyilola tipped as the Director General. The actors after my life, says a River Governor. PDP governorship candidate in Port Harcourt. Leave us out of your mess. APC wants ASUU. Court restrains Osun PDP from expelling Babayemi. Lawyer jailed 5 years. Other than 3 billion naira paid to oil marketers as bridging claims in 9 months, as NMDPRA. You can see that on page 4. Now, stories above, we have I get some 100,000 naira for every 500 ammunition take to bandits. Buhari greets a United Kingdom Prime Minister. We have Tinubu donate 50 million naira to Jigawa flood victims. Lastly, on the nation, Nigeria gets 23 slots as Google lifts 60 African startups with $40 million. And you can see that on page 6. Now, away from the nation, we move to the Punch. The Punch newspapers dealing with anti-drug war. Federal government freezes 600 accounts, seizes 249 luxury vehicles. NDLEA confiscates $1.3 million, £102,000. Also, we have 14 million CFA and 252 million naira drug proceeds. Courts orders interim forfeiture of billionaire Ukatu's 25 property and factory. Don't buy drugs for youths. Agency wants politicians ahead of campaigns. And we have photo stories of the president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, and the writer says Nigeria, Poland plan closer ties, ink agric deal. You can see that on page 20. Now, page 16, governor won't interfere in Ogun Speaker's case. That's coming from commissioner. Federal government grows VAT by 20%, rakes in 1.2 trillion. Stories above, we have PDP neck divided over call for IU's removal. INEC deleting double registrants from voter register. That's coming from Mahmoud. Also, insecurity, FX crisis caused capital inflows by 23%. You can see that on page 26. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have full scarcity hits Abuja as marketers short stations. And you can see that on page 25 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Join us after the break as we analyze the stories with our guest. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I'm Damlola Ogunshaki. Joining me to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Mr. Gbero Olajuigbe. He's the Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alerts. Good morning, Mr. Gbero.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being with you.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And let's move straight to the stories of the day. Now, as they embattled the national chairman of PDP, Senator Mion Chayu, consolidates a plan to preside over NEC meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Some allies of Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State are hatching a fresh plot to unseat him. And of course, we know of the stories of what have been going on in PDP. The fact that Wike requested for IU's removal. And of course, some people are against it, while we also have some who are for this idea. Now, what do you think about this, fresh plot?
Well, I don't know whether the plot is old or fresh, but what I know is that the PDP constitution has been desperately, grossly violated by having the presidential candidate who was supposed to have come from the south, from the north. As a matter of fact, the real breach is appointing Atiku in Northerners as the presidential candidate of PDP. It has to be sown to the south, and that is the real breach. And why you came to power as chairman was with the understanding that the presidential candidate will come from the south. The actual breach happened when Atiku Abubakar was appointed against the vow of the constitution of PDP to equity, the vow to diversity management at all time and in all ways. And they have come short of that. And we are talking of IU today because people are not even bold enough to tell Atiku Abubakar to resign as the presidential candidate of that party. If I were to be in that party, that would be my target. Because it grossly violated agreement, it violated their own constitution, it violated every sense of justice. That is the issue. So initially, the IU was elected before Atiku. So the understanding then, IU coming from the North Central was that it was given as if the presidential candidate will come from the south only for them to change it, using ASUU as a bait to ensnare some people and raise support for Atiku Abubakar. But if that is what they want, well, maybe it's about half bread is better than none. But the real deal is who becomes the president. God forbid if Atiku is elected as president of Nigeria today. The implication is that the North will be having nearly at least 12 years at a go to disadvantage of the South. It's not good for a plural society that is going through this type of ethnic and religious breakdown that we are having today, affecting our diversity and creating crisis everywhere. So we are not managing our diversity well. No matter the plot against ASUU, it speaks to nothing as far as I'm concerned, because the tenure of the chairman actually ends when the election is over, and then governors continue the same attitude of partisanship, the same attitude of ethnic hegemony, the same attitude of holding power on behalf of some people, some powerful group from part of a country. We continue. So it will not change anything other than you have a puppet from the south who will become the chairman, even if ASUU is removed today, and the vice chairman from the south, from the north, who is constitutionally positioned to replace another chairman from the north, will resign. I don't think that is the real issue. They should be able to confront their problem and understand the context of the problem and power. The power equation, the power relation has been tilted against the South. That is the real deal in PDP. So Atiku ought not to have contested in the first place. So it's not even about ASUU as far as I'm concerned. ASUU was a beneficiary of a dubious plan to foster a candidate from the north. And of course, he made a statement that if the presidential candidate, if he should come from the north, he will resign. And he has failed to honor his word. That means that you have leadership of a party that does not have respect for their own words, for their own proposal, for their own integrity. Those are the issues that we should even be amplifying, rather than who resigns and who replaces who resigns.
But someone is saying Atiku is actually playing politics with ASUU's removal. According to them, they are saying that why should ASUU not quit now if he's interested in peace? And seeing that Atiku said that the chairman will only leave after the election. What do you think about this?
Atiku should not have contested in the first place. That's what I'm saying. So if you are looking at to solve a problem, though the time for Atiku now, because PDP has no time for replacement under electoral law now, so they can't replace Atiku. They are stuck with him. But he made the first fundamental mistake, and that mistake was a willing mistake, a willing error, a willing desperation to circumvent a constitutional provision under their party. So if ASUU is removed now, it has no consequence for anything. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure even those that have been pushing for ASUU's removal, they will just only be placated, but they will not be satisfied because the wound is already festering. It has been allowed to fester, and they are hungry enough to see that anger is going to see them through to the election time. I can't say anything about that. The only reason that some people cannot pull out of that PDP now, for example, Wike, he has to campaign for his own candidate, his chief of staff that he has unleashed on the river people as candidate. So he has the responsibility to campaign for such person. That is why it's difficult for him even to outrightly say that I am no longer a PDP. So it's about their personal interests, albeit But in that personal interest, they have sacrificed national interest, whether that of Atiku or that of ASUU. So it was a plan. You see how political, how a plan, because you can't put nothing on something. How will Atiku now come out clean to say that he want to unify Nigeria when you violated the law of unity in quote in your own party? So those are the issues. And if you don't begin to isolate these contentious disruptors of order in Nigeria, we're not going to get anywhere getting problems solved. In party politics is expected to showcase how your governance will be.
All right.
Anyway, I never repose any hope in any of these characters in the first place.
All right, quickly before we move away from this 2023 elections, now the ruling APC has sent some of its most of its staff on a one-day leave as part of measures to decongest the Buhari's House and National Secretariat of the party in preparation for the maiden visit of the presidential candidate of the party. What do you think about this? Sending staff on a one-day leave to decongest
That is, as far as I'm concerned, is their internal problem. Why should that even concern Nigeria? Why should that even make news in the media in the first place? The concern now should be, what are they going to do? You can see all of them clapping their hand, dancing, abusing one another without telling Nigeria critically what issues they are bringing on board. During campaign now, everything will be, this is the time to push out manifestos. You are not campaigning by pushing out your manifestos. You are educating people about what you want to do. During campaign, you see them gathering women and others to begin to dance and everything, and no word will be spoken. And I don't know whether to say foolishly enough, Nigerians will be clapping and be voting based on no promise made. That is the tragedy of our democracy. Democrats and democracy is about engagement, speaking to people on what you want to do, what you can do, how you are going to do them, at what time are you going to do, and we begin to make contribution, interrogation, questioning, and of course, critiquing whatever you have put forward for Nigeria. But we are not seeing that. Even elites, we follow them to be dancing useless dance that will lead to tears after election, without asking critical questions, issues that concern fundamental welfare of Nigeria, fundamental issue as fundamental as security or securitization of Nigeria and Nigerians, issue that concern youth employment, issues that concern access to functional formal education. We are not saying anything about that. Today, look at, I was watching a video of a young man that went back to his school to drop his certificate in Ogbomoso, Lautech or something yesterday, that he couldn't find job after several years of graduation. That could be comical, but then it's a sign of potential trouble for Nigeria. That young man is representing hundreds of thousands of Nigerian youths that are not engaged, that are not employed, that has no viable or verifiable or sure means of livelihood. Those are the questions that should concern us. We have abandoned that. Even nobody is even concerned about. I've never heard their word about on this 7-month strike by ASUU, keeping children out of school for a whole session, and we all move on. Yet we want a society that is secure. How will it come? We want a society that will be in order. How will that come? When you are not concerned about very existential problem of your country. So, as a political party, whether they give themselves 10 years to stay away from work, that is their problem. The problem is that what is in it for Nigeria? And go and look at why they did that. It's for the citizen selfish personal interest and political interest, and not for anything. What work are they even doing in the first place there? Do they have JD, job description? Is it not those who will clap for leaders or rights, those who will raise their hands those who will abuse others on their behalf, are they making any productive contribution to the economy in the first place?
All right, Mr. Goro, let's move on to other stories. Our time is actually fast spent. Now, let's talk about ASUU. And in a move to end the 7-month closure of public varsities in the country, the Minister of Education, Adamu, yesterday said that government could only afford 23.5% increase for lecturers, while a 35% increment will be enjoyed by professors as its last effort to break the industrial dispute between varsity teachers and the federal government. And of course, this seems to be their move, to end the strike. What do you think about this exactly? Mr. Guerrero?
Government. It's unacceptable. In fact, it contradicts all laws of labor when it comes to negotiation of wages. Those whose wages you want to increase should be part of that negotiation. You can't just come out as a paymaster, a baboon, telling monkey, this is what the pear nut, the quantity of pear nut I'm going to give you. Workers, one thing we don't know, even if you are the one that established your organization or that institution, everything, workers are not slaves. They are people who are productive, contributing to your own growth and development, or national growth and development. So when you don't negotiate on their behalf, inclusion in all process of negotiation is what the law of whether international playing out. And that is why there is always crisis. You call people and say that this is what you have, this is why you cannot pay this, why you can pay this and everything. And by doing that, you are securing industrial harmony. Not that you just go as if Nigeria belongs to your father and you have just plucked some plantain from the farms. Children, this is what. You don't do that. It contradicts. So they shoot on the ground. You will see it. And this is the same government that is saying that distributing money to unknown people that under the guise of vulnerable people that has no name or anything. Is that how to do lift people out of poverty? You are not training them in a way that will bring them out of poverty. You say you are sending 5,000 and all this and everything. And this is an environment where they don't even have power to do the least menial work or businesses on their or business on their own. No light, nothing. Barber can work. The cost of energy is skyrocketing. Yet you are not. You factor all this in. Have they done the peer review of what other lecturers says we are? Because before you come to this conclusion, the expectation is that look at what they are paying in Ghana, look at what they are doing. And what that does is that when you do that type of comparative analysis of wages, it will not prevent, it has potential of preventing what you call brain drain. When they can see that there is no significant difference in what they get in Ghana and what they get in this. Even at times, I don't want to be so ambitious to compare us with Europe or America. Those are the challenges of our environment. We do things arbitrarily. It has no basis. It has no background. It has no context. And we continue to have hiccup at the end of the day, creating disharmony and acrimony everywhere because we fail to engage the critical stakeholders before we arrive at a particular specific decision like that of wages.
The NDLEA, they are really, taking their fight against drugs very far, seeing that, they said no fewer than 286 assets and 600 accounts of drug barons between, January 2021 and August 2022 have been seized. And not only that, they also have seized 871.53 million naira worth of illegal drugs funds between this January 2021 and August 2022. What do you think about the effort of the NDLEA?
Yeah, what I can say about NDLEA is one institution or government agency in Nigeria that has actually performed, particularly in recent time, after the assumption of office of their Director General, Brigadier Buba Marwa. He has justified his appointment in terms of excellent performance, in terms of getting people arrested for drug issues and cases, in terms of going to the root of there. In fact, even in Abuja, I saw them invading a private property where a woman, a 38-year-old woman, allegedly grew
Okay, it seems the network is not really favorable this morning. But of course, we are talking about NDLEA.
We should help them by intensifying. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Yes, it is this burden that we place on shoulders of young people that drove them to drug. So we should try to help these young people who are disillusioned, who are maladjusted, who are having psychological traumas as a result of inability to exist as young people that has focus. There is nobody giving them advice. There is no functional education. There is no appropriate counseling, even when they are unemployed. And they are predisposed to vagaries of crimes and criminalities, including that of drug. And as a matter of fact, drug has become the principal enabler of crime commission in Nigeria today. And that is why you see a heinous crime being committed violently, of course, with extreme violence, with extreme dispassion, with incompassionate desire. So I think NDLEA has performed well within the scope of its mandate in recent times. We should that is one agency that should be encouraged, so that but if you have to trace the root, why are people using drug? And when they use drug, that means that before, if you see a young person that is using drug now that wasn't before, that means that he has started the process of getting radicalized. So what are you doing? So that drug is just an enabler. It's just a pointer to what is wrong with our country. That is not the basis. The basis is that you have taken hope away from young Nigerians. They can't see hope. So they don't see anything even in destroying their own life with drugs.
But Mr. Gbero, the coordinator and advocate for people's rights and justice, Victor Giwas, called for the legalization of Indian hemp, arguing that other countries have found that the more they campaign against it, the higher the consumption rates. What do you think about this legalizing Indian hemp?
Indian hemp is not a human rights issue. Legalizing it is not a human right. Those who legalize it, for example, in Canada, they extract Indian hemps oils to prepare drugs, particularly antioxidant drugs, drugs against anti-cancer drugs. That is what they use it for, strictly for that. And not only that, you see some recently, I think about last year, and when I travel and I bought India hemp mouthwash. It was sourced. The mouthwash was taken from India hemp. So it has medicinal value, but it has to go through process. Which company is going to process it in Nigeria in the first place? Is that the use that is being put? Even if you have to legalize it for production of medicine, it has to take a long time of orientation. It has to take a long time of who will be in control. It's what if you legalize it now, you must be ready to build a lot of psychiatric hospital in environment where people are disillusioned. That is going to be counterproductive. So until we are able to stabilize our society, organize its industrial focus, or even in terms of export decisions, and we're able to be in control to a certain level of managing the counter-production of such decision, you can't legalize anything. So legalizing, is it a human rights issue that you should legalize it? As far as Nigerian is concerned today, it's not classified as food. It's classified as illegal product. And law is what law say it is. Particularly if it does not violate anybody's human rights. So it is not your human right to even plant yam or plant this thing and everything. So if it is injurious to society, assuming that it's even an issue of human right, and it's injurious to large number of the public, so your right cannot override that of public right, public welfare.
Mr.
So it's not an issue of man right. We should begin to see things into context. Not that they are doing it in Canada, they are doing it without going through to the basis of why they are doing it, how they are doing it, how they are managing that. Do we have a justice administration that can respond to the fallout? Do you have police that can? If you do that today, everyone, 80% will be smoking it on the street.
Let's end this on a lighter note with Mr. and Mrs. And speaking first today is Mr. He says, dear, you're not looking cheerful. What's the matter? And Mrs. replied, you increased my allowance last week, but the price of items have gone up again. And I don't know how to tell you. And Mr. replied, okay, if you know how, let me know. That's a funny one from Mr. and Mrs. Of course, you have to say that things are really increasing in the market. But of course, just looking at it, that Mr. replied it last week, Mrs. Maybe we should calm down and wait for Mr. a little to also increase his own pocket. And that's where we have to end it today. Thank you, Mr. Gberolaji Igbe, for joining us this morning to analyze the front pages of the dailies. And of course, to get more of our top stories, you can follow us on all the social media platforms showing on your screen on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. Now, to get more top stories, you can visit our website www.vanguardnj.com for stories trending across the world and in Nigeria. My name is Damlola Okunshaki. It's bye from me on Today in the News.